Next question.
Good evening. I'm not a person that is familiar with size and whatever, but the figures that was given tonight, I would like them to be more localized in terms of Cayon, in terms of how much land is available in Cayon, how much land has been distributed under this special initiative, how much land is still more available, which areas are underdeveloped, which areas need to be developed before they are actually distributed, and that type of thing. So the presentation itself, even though it had figures, it kind of lost me somewhere because it was more constitutionalized rather than being in Cayon, because I'm thinking that the meeting in Cayon now will be more localized and give more information and to detail in terms of Cayon. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to ask is that in terms of allocating these lands to the SPVs, I was asking what procedures or what method was used in terms of distributing this land. And the third thing is that, the committee or whatever have the developers yet, but is there estimated cost of which these lands will be sold at after the initiative have been, or the agreement has been completed?
Okay, to answer partly your question, from the figures that I have here, I can break out for you. A total of 151 acres have been distributed to persons in Cayon. And if you take a look at the map here, in Cabbage Tree Extension, there was 3.5 acres. In Cabbage Tree Phase 2, 70.9 acres. In Upper St. Mary's Terrace, Cayon, 11.5 acres. And in Lower Hermitage, 18 acres. In the Cayon community itself, I'm not quite sure of the amount of lands, but it is in excess of 100 acres for Cayon community itself that is remaining. The land that has been distributed for agriculture, of the 101 acres, a total of 82 acres have been dedicated just in Cayon alone. And so, to partly again answer your second question, we treat with development as communities as a whole, as development areas. And so, for example, since 2006, we have dedicated the Hermitage area as a prime location for development of tourism and commercial enterprises. And so, if you would require much more details than that, we invite you to visit the Department of Physical Planning to get a sense of what the plans are for the community in Cayon specifically, and also we can provide you with additional information as you may wish.
All right, for the other part of the question, which was about the price of the land, whether any price would have been worked out and what are the conditions under which the land are sold. As I said, there is a board of directors, and the board of directors will determine exactly how these lands are to be sold. Remember, I said that there are 3 members who would be appointed by the bank, 3 members by the government, and the chairman of the board will be by the government. They will sit and they will consider the following. For what purpose is the land to be sold? For what purpose is the land to be used that is being requested for sale or for buying? Where is the land located? Based on the location of the land, it will be much more expensive than, well, let me put it this way, sorry. Based on the location of the land, the price will be determined. If it is coastal land, which are beautiful landscape lands looking at the sea. That kind of land is usually more expensive than the mountainous land. If it is land that is very far away from electricity and water, that will be less expensive than the land which already has what we call infrastructure, which is water, electricity, and maybe cable already in those lands. Let me give you an example. Some of the lands in the Kitsodat area, because remember, as I said, the Kitsodat area is owned by the bank basically already. Those lands were to be transferred. But the government has already promised those lands to the people who worked in the industry and who were living on those lands in the factory houses. So even though those lands are maybe as much as $15, $20 per square foot, because they already have infrastructure, they are close to the airport, they are of high commercial value, etc. Those lands will not cost $20 per square foot because the government has a policy that those lands have to be sold to those people who worked in the sugar factory or the sugar industry and are living in the houses on those lands. So there are so many different conditions that will determine the price of the land. For example, right now there's a practice that lands, for example, in the West Farm area between the two universities, Ross Medical School and Ross University Vet School. Land there is being sold at about $250,000 per acre. US per acre. If it is a foreigner who is buying those lands for development, they have to pay $250,000 US per acre. And that is prime land. But if there's a local investor who is serious about developing those lands, the board can decide to quote that figure, same 250, not in US, but EC. Because we want to help the local investor. So you understand? So it depends on who is buying, where it is located, for what purpose it is to be put, that will determine the price of the land. That is why we are confident that our people will be able to buy land because it is the government in control of how the land is sold. But some people don't want us to say that. They don't want you all to hear that because they want you to believe a white man going to come and gobble up your land. Nonsense. Again, I give you the analogy of Frigate Bay. Mr. Bradshaw in the 70s bought 900 acres of land at Frigate Bay because ordinary black people could not go into Frigate Bay and bathe on the beaches. There was a gate across there. You couldn't go down there. And he said, no, our best beaches are over there. We must own it for our people. And he bought it. And when he bought it, the Pam people, Billy Herbert and they went all around the country. Said, Bradshaw is only going to have white people living over there. Don't let him buy it. Today, who is living in Frigate Bay? Some of the lands in Frigate Bay were earmarked for hotel. Some was earmarked for golf course. Some was earmarked for business. And a lot of it was earmarked for ordinary black people to buy, to build their houses there. You know who are living in Frigate Bay today? You know who own those big houses? Ain't a white man, you know. Black people whose parents come from Cayon and work in the sugar industry. Is they who live over there. Because it is the policy of the Labour government to empower people. Poor people has to be looked after by the government. They have to be. We don't want people to remain poor. We want you to get out of poverty. Get into the middle income group. That's why we are using the money to send your children off to universities. They are coming back with their degrees. They ain't going to work in no cane field. They're going to work in our schools, in our hospitals. They're going to be accountants. They're going to be economists. They're going to have their own businesses. That's the middle class that we have created with pride in this country. They don't want us to cancel the debt so that we will have money to send your children off to university. Because let me tell you plainly now, if we don't get this debt swap, no more money there for your children to go to university. That's why we need the swap. The government needs financial space so that it can do what it is best to do. I have been here for 17 years. I know how to run government. None of them better than me. Let me talk. Me I give action. Next question, sir. Next question.